right, we have covered the overview of the login page, then user creation, implementation consultant. Uh,
Sir,
hmm.
sorry to interrupt. Sir, I have a query in user creation.
Haha.
You told about the two option to create the application implementation
Haha.
yesterday. So
Mhm.
first is FSN, right? So
Mhm.
I just want to know what is the FSN and what is
Yeah.
the full.
So FSM is functional setup management, right? Manager, right? So basically, what is there, right? Let me give you. Okay, just give me a minute. After this, right? Let's just go through, and then I'll tell you.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
So basically, the employee, we covered the part of the implementation project, offering how to enable opt the new feature, then the security control, right? Uh, let's move. Let's talk about the FSM, right? So FSM is, functional setup manager. Okay. So basically, what kind of, the stuff you can achieve, right? Basically, you can do the export or import the setups. Okay, let's take an example from development environment. A few of the configuration you have done, and you want those configuration not to repeat it again, right? Because it's a quite difficult task to do all those setups again and again, right? So what you can do, you can just take the extract, means you can export, and it will create a zip file. Okay, I'll showcase you one of the the scenario as well, right? Moving forward, when we move forward, right? And you can import it into your test environment or maybe production. Okay. Now there are the glitch. What is that? So let's take an example. If you are working on the complex environment, right, where you have the larger the entities. Okay, sometime what happened via importing any configuration, right? FSM got fail. Okay, and if you try to re-import, again it will give you the error. So troubleshooting is more difficult than importing or exporting. So sometimes it's advised that you do repeat all your configuration manually. Do all these steps again, because it help you to go through all each individual task one by one. So you don't need any challenges. You don't face any challenges, right? Because sometimes what happen, right? The difference is, let's take example development environment. There is a naming convention used as a ABC, but in order to support ABC configuration, it might be required the same stuff or same configuration to be enabled or available to the test environment. Okay. If you forget to do that, okay, it is not going to be successfully import at all. So you have to do again all those supportive configuration or the data to be available, then only this import and export will work for you. Okay, so let's take an example. Okay, let me go through. Okay, all right, let's take an example. The manage inventory organization. Okay, if I export it, right, so let me just open. All right, and let me try to click on plus. Okay, so let's wait. All right. So if you looked at, right, in order to create inventory organization, what all information you need as a prerequisite? You need a legal entity, profit center business unit to be available, right? Then the location address must be there, right? The management business unit, right? The name and organization, right? That whatever you configure, the same can go through. But in order to configure this inventory organization, these all stuffs has to be there. Okay. So until unless your legal entity is matching with the development environment, it is not going to be import successfully. So you have to make sure that whatever the prerequisite data for respective configuration is required, you have to make sure that those relevant respective information must be present into your upstream environment. So let's say downstream is your dev, upstream your test, and then your production environment. So each data has to be synced, then it will make your life easy. Okay.
Okay, sir.
I hope that I clarify.
Yes, yes, I clarify. But what is the difference between the user and the FSM?
Yeah. So so FSM is basically, generally, Oracle. So user is user. Okay. So
Okay.
let me give you. Okay. All right. So if you looked at, right, so create implementation user. So if you create from the FSM or you create from the navigator, okay, or you create from the UI, it will work, remain same functionality. Only thing is that just the way of navigating or way of achieving that particular task, they have given, many ways to handle your scenario. You got my point?
Yes,
So
got
let's
it.
take an example. If you have created any implementation user and you want, export or import, you can do it so that you don't need to recreate your implementation user again. So that is the achievable functionality, because if you go from the navigator UI, you have to create it manually because there is a no provision. There is a provision only to, create a user and all the file based, the data import. That is the only way to handle, and that is also complex. So until unless you have the HCM and all, right, it will come as a part of the HCM. Okay. So basically Oracle is provision. If you have, the, let's say, 50 plus implementation user, right, working, and it's a larger entity, right, you just export and import it. And if you looked at, this is an action, so you have export and import. Okay. And let's take an example, any point of time, if you would like to look at the setup compare, you can do that also. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the only thing. There's a no functionality difference, no, the provision or, the additional privilege will be assigned via as FSM or, non-FSM. There is a no impact, nothing. Okay. So if you come to the initial user, there is also option create implementation user. So if you click that, it will come to the same path where you can create the user. You got that now?
Oh, yes, sir.
So it's redirecting the same page, just the only where from you want or what will be, easy to keep you remember. You follow any
Hmm.
steps. Okay.
Oh, okay,
All
sir.
right. We discussed the security. So far, any questions in this side, all these tasks?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Now coming to, so we'll talk about, right, today. So we will be starting, right. So we will be start, at the latter, right, at the chart of account, all those legal entity creation and all. We will do all those refresh session, right, at the latter stage. So in order to expedite, right, this instance, okay, let me give you, okay, this instance is working little slow, but it's working. Okay. It might be possible. This is also demo environment, but it is not going to be refresh in the backend. Okay. Basically, we will give you, all the demo environment. We will share you by every Monday. Those environment will work fine, and functionality will also work, the fine. But that those environment will work from Monday to Friday and Saturday till afternoon. After that, Saturday afternoon, all those environment going to be recloned.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So we will be sharing, by every Monday, but this dedicated environment will be available for you to perform, it might be possible that few functionality won't work. That does not impact us, since we have, couple of other environment where we can, perform all those, the configurations. All right.
Okay.
Okay. Second point is that, right, don't try, many times, right. So if you looked at, right, we do have, one environment and it's get logged, so you cannot, recall it because it won't, forget password, nothing. So until unless, there is a admin or maybe, whoever having the access, right, they are unlocking, then only we can get the reset link and all. If it locked, so three times, system give you the three chances, and once all three fails, automatically it will lock. So
Okay,
just
sir.
be careful, huh? Okay. So we'll talk about the manage business unit. Okay. So we will be talking about what all the task has to be performed in related to the managed business unit. Okay, how to create the business unit, assign the all the functions to the business unit, and what will be the key factor, right, or deciding factor that particular business will have, certain functionality or certain offerings, that required to be implemented. Okay, so let's begin with the all right. So if you looked at, right, so organization structure, so there is a, okay, so means required task. So all wherever you looked at, right, these are the required tasks in order to configure, the configurations, right. If you go to the all tasks, then it will give you, related to your optional task as well as the required task. Okay, this is what the functionality of all task and the required task. Okay, so I'll click on the all task. So if you looked at, so first task is manage business unit. Okay, so first we will define our business unit. Second task is assign business unit business function. Okay, so we'll assign the all the business functions. Let's take an example. You might have, the business requirement that one of the entity or one of the business division is just, having the procurement functionality. Okay, and one of the business unit will have, the manufacturing, procurement, as well as order management as well. So when you decide, right, or where to decide that particular business will have certain function enabled. Okay, so this is what this task mean of it. Okay, so assign business unit business function. Then manage business unit set assignments. Okay, this is also very important. But as a supply chain consultant, you don't need to worry about that, because there is a financial consultant who will do all this, the set of, the configurations for you. So your work will start from the item organization, inventory organization. Okay, till the business unit, chart of account, general ledger setup, everything will be done by the financial. AR AP will be done by the financial. And if you are handling, acting as a supply chain and the financial, then you have to configure, both the things. Okay, all right. Now, so first we'll go ahead with the managed business units. Okay, all right. So let me create. Okay, so we'll choose this time, any of the legal entity the available to this environment. Okay, and we'll go ahead with our configuration. So we'll say ABB Limited. I hope that business no one has created, because generally development environment, or that the demo environment, you will have, all this configuration will be available. Okay, location. So location, we can use any of the location. Okay, or now let's say, the ABC US Corporation location. Okay, we'll do all this re-exercise. Okay, so don't worry about that. Since we have
Yes,
to
sir.
expedite the order management, so we have to, move faster. Now default set. Default set, we will be using common set. Okay, so over here this is a manager. So let's take an example. If business ask you, let's take an example that particular business entity handled by so and so senior manager, and they want, that merger manager to be associated with in respect of this particular business unit, you can assign that business manager over here. If it's not required, since you notice it is optional. Why it's optional? Because if you looked at, this is a single start
Start. Yes.
rectifier, right? So that means that particular information you have to keep it mandatory. Even though if we are not assigning the location, it won't stop me to create the business unit. Okay, same way manager, if because it's optional, manager can be there or maybe more than one manager, then you cannot assign all the managers, right? So you have only one dedicated. But the provision is given. You have to make sure that active flag is enabled and checked. Then only that ABB, that business unit will be displayed. Okay. So we have created business unit. Now coming back, and we will search ABB Limited. So if you notice that, sometime what happened, right? For reporting purpose or maybe some configuration purpose, lookup purpose, you need business unit ID. So you can get it from this manage business units task. You can get the business unit ID. Now, sometime what happened, since it's enabled for me. Okay. So if you
Is it
notice
generated
that,
by system, sir? Sir.
yes, it is generated by the system and it vary. So you don't be, assume that it remain, till production, be same. It's not like that. Every time, whenever you move to new environment, automatically system will generate all those IDs into the backend. So it's advised whenever you do such integration, BIP report, or any such, the configuration, don't hard code the IDs specifically. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Because ID will vary, right? Dynamically. Name, yes, name. Sometimes it's required to be hard coded. Name you can hard code, but you just make sure that name will carry forward to the next environment so that you won't face any challenges with your integration part of it. Got it?
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Got it.
Now manage business unit. So if you come, right, there are, the in the action section, there are several. So you have create, you have added, so you can re-edit, you can export to Excel also. Let's say you have many business, you can assign business functions also from this window. So it's not like that you have to go to the assign business unit functions. Okay, that's separate task. You can go ahead, you can do from this window also. Okay. Then there are, the manage service provider, view service client, manage set assignment, download and create service provider in a spreadsheet, right? So service provider and all is required, when you have, intercompany and all those setups required, right? Then you have to configure. But business function you can assign from this window. Okay. Now how to enable this business unit ID? So if you go, so everywhere in Oracle Fusion, each module, you will see actions, view, format, plus icon, pencil icon, export icon, freeze, wrap. Okay. So basically all these, the icon will be globally available across the modules. So action means you can perform, create or edit from the front UI, the buttons as well. As well, you can go and perform these actions from the action menu. Now view, so about this record, who has created? So generally in ABS you have, history where you can check, who has done that, updated the data or created data. You can go ahead and select that particular record and you can, go ahead and you can see that, about this record. See, look that. Okay. All right. Now coming to the columns. Columns, so basically, show all columns. So if you notice that there is a, the one column called business unit ID. Generally, in the environment, it will be hidden. So you have to simply come to this business unit. You select business unit, go to view, column and enable this. To enable it, simply if I double click, right, to that business unit, you won't see that business unit over here. So generally you will see like this: manager, location, active name. These four always be enabled, but you won't see this business unit ID. So you simply go and click that, then it will be enabled over here automatically. Okay. Then sorting is also available. So if you want, sorting to be or reorder column, if you want, any column to be reordering, you can do that. These are the globally across modules available such functionality. Okay. Then the format, so wherever it support, like the resize the column or wrap means, it will open into the specific window. And wherever you will see, the plus means create, pencil means added, export. So wherever you will see this kind of, the icon means you can export all those relevant data into the Excel. So it will automatically export your data into Excel. Okay. All right. So we have created the business unit. We talked about, related all the functionalities. Okay. I'll go back. What next? So next task is assign business unit business function. Okay. So let's move. All right. So if you looked at, this is a different business entity. So we'll change the scope. So we'll go ahead. We'll change the scope, select and add, apply and go. Now we'll select our business entity, ABB Limited. So if you looked at, save and close. All right. So once you select the scope, automatically that business function UI will be enabled, open. And if you notice that these all are the business functions. So these are the deciding factor that your business, what kind of the functionality, belongs to your business. So let's say my business will perform procurement task, lease accounting, incentive compensation, right? Customer payments, customer contract management. Okay. So all those flags will be enabled. So this will be done by the finance team. Okay. Not the supply chain person. Okay. Because legally, the finance person will spoke with the business, right? What all business function will be performed, and accordingly he will decide and just do the enablement. So for now it's a demo environment. We will enable all. Or if you want dedicated for us like material management, right? Because we will have the inventory, right? So material management is required. Then payable invoicing, then payable payment, we will, right? Procurement contract, right? Project accounting, if that business will perform, receiving, requisitioning, right? So all those, the function you can enable. Okay. Once you enable the material management, that flag, automatically you will notice that below legal entity checkbox, the field will be enabled. Enabled in the sense it will be visible. And the relevancy of this flag is very important. I'll show you what is the important, points to be noted. Okay. So let me just search. Okay. So let me search the ledger. Okay. So Novartis USA, that is what the primary ledger I will be choosing. We will cover, as I mentioned, we will cover. So don't worry about that. For now, to expedite, we will be, selecting whatever is available. Now, until unless you enable this flag, you won't be able to select your profit business unit while creating the inventory organization. Just now I demonstrated, when we were discussing it related to FSM, correct? Functional setup manager task. So what we were discussing, that profit center, right? So that profit center LOB will be visible once you enable this. If you won't enable, then you won't be able to select the profit center, and that profit center you have not selected, then it won't come to the costing side. So there are the relevancy. So generally what happen, you are acting as a supply chain consultant, and someone is performing as a financial consultant. They will just define the primary ledger and then legal entity and just save and close. They won't enable this flag because they forget, because it's not mandatory for them, correct? So they won't enable. Generally it happen every implementation. Then if you don't know, then again you will be raising the SR, googling it everywhere, you are searching, you won't get it easily, all these things. Okay. So simply, if you know, then you can just come to the assign business unit business functions, right? And you can just enable this below legal entity and save and close. System will ask prompt, okay, yes, okay. So far we good?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now coming to the third task. What is our third task? So we have created business unit. We have, completed the assign business unit business function. Okay, that is what we have covered. Now come to the manage business unit set assignment. That is also very important task. Okay, I'll show you. Now, if you looked at, you remember, right? We were talking about into our, the first session, right, where I'll talk about related to that if there are, two entities and they don't want, share to their data, right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes,
So
sir.
reference data set code, these are the distinguished factor. So let's take a example. If you have created for entity specific reference data set, you can assign over here so that those data element will be distinguished and cannot be shared. Okay. Generally, when you do implementation, it will be selected as a common set. Means the same set of data, maybe payment term, can be shared, the each entity. So common set will be seeded available. But if you want, you can customize it. Okay. So if you looked at, see, there are a lot of reference data set is coming. Okay. That is what the benefit of, if business will ask you, so generally, the during the implementation, right, it's depend on the business. Okay. If they want, then only go ahead. Otherwise, because it will be again, tedious task for you to create reference data set, then distinguish all, and everywhere, wherever the data is linking, right? And connecting to each module, right? You have to distinguish, you have to configure, accordingly, all those configurations. Okay. All right. So common set, since we are using the common set as a seeded, what you have to notice, right? There is a, customer account side and customer account relationship. These two data object, reference data object, cannot be set code as a common set. If you have done that, you won't be able to create your customer record at all. So it has to be always enterprise set. What has to be that? Enterprise set. Then only you will be able to create the customer in the system. That also you can customize if there is a need, and you can associate so that if there is a requirement that business can to be business customer can be distinguished, right, or cannot be selected, then you can go ahead, with this approach. So let's take an example. Generally, what happen, now, when you have, initial implementation phase, sometime, or do early task, right? Financial folks, sometime, they forget and they are facing the challenges, or maybe you are facing because you have to expedite your task. So you have to be remembered that if you are unable to create the customer, you have to come to this manage set assignments, and you have to select customer account relationship and customer account site as an enterprise. Okay. And you have to say save and close. So what we have done, manage business unit set assignment. So let me note it down. Okay. So we have done this. So these are the very important, the key from the business unit, right? Okay. All right. So we have done that. So my business unit is ready in order for us to start our initial configuration related to the item. There are several roles required. So we'll talk about time to time. Before starting the order management, what we need primarily the items, custom, correct? These two stuffs are required. Then only we can proceed with the order management task, right? There are, if we move to the drop ship, then obviously we will move to the procurement side. So there are several, the shipment, shipping configuration is required, right? Packing rules required. So we'll talk about one by one whenever there is a, the task is required, right? We'll talk about and we'll complete all those tasks accordingly. Okay. All right. Now, what else for me, right, to create? So basically, if you go, so let's take an example. If you know all this functional area, right, if it is easy for you to navigate, you can go ahead and navigate it. If not, then there is a provision given you in the wide search. What it means, it's globally, available all the tasks, right, easily you can access from this UI, this search. Okay, so manage item org percent. So if you search with that, it's automatically coming as a manage item organization. So let's click that. If you click on plus, okay, so basically manage item organization, right, it's a master organization like in EBIS what we have. So same way, it's item organization means it's your master organization. Okay, sometime it's required that, do we really need, right, it's not required. If you have the business, you want, item to be distinguished, right, and there has to be some control, then only go ahead, and create the item organization. Because let's take an example. If you have two separate business functions, okay, one business entity will have, some set of items, okay, and your B business unit function will have the C set of items. And you don't want that both business can look at each other item. So how you can control? You want somewhere to be origin of your items, right? Somewhere to be controlled. So you can control at the master level. And based on the uses or the business function, you can assign those certain items to them. So let's take an example. In future, if business decided that C set of item has to be used to the A set of, the A business function companies, then easily you can just do the assignment of that item. You don't need to create again item code, because item code has to be unique across your business, correct? That is what the relevancy of it, right? Otherwise, there is no meaning to master data, right? Master data always has to be unique across, the globally to the respective of the business. Okay, all right. So create new. So we will utilize this item organization in order to create all the master item. Okay, so let's create it. So name. So ABB IMO. Okay, so that is what our the name. Okay, organization ABB master org. The name can be changed. Uses, okay, so already, so let me put it some character. Valid organization. Okay, so let me create IMO short code, and I'll put the name as a ABB master org. Okay, so name I have entered as a ABB master org, and then organization is ABB IMO entity. Uses is item management, right? Means item to be created. Manage business function. So what business we have created? ABB Limited, right? I think dot. Okay. So if you looked at primary ledger automatically coming. Now this is what the legal entity we have selected over there, right? Status is active. Okay. So you have active or inactive. Okay. Internal or external, right? So that item organization, the location will be internal or external. So always be internal, right? Sometimes if business required, then only you create external. Otherwise, it will be internal. Okay. So let me select the location, US. Let's search US location 1. Okay. All right. Now coming to the next. Okay. Item master organization. Okay. So item master organization. So that is what ABB master organization we have created. So we have selected that. Item grouping behavior is definition organization, and item definition organization is ABB master. Okay. Starting revision is 0. Okay. Context means any additional information if you would like to capture, then you can go ahead and create all those DFFs and you can enable it. Now you simply say save and close. So let's go ahead. ABB IMO, if I search, okay. So it brings that information. So we have created the item organization. So what we have created? Manage item organization. Okay. All right. Now coming. Okay. Now what else? Okay. So basically, generally, if you looked at, right, the inventory organization. So just generally, the questions, right? What all information is required? So first of all, you must be aware that, your business working shifts, right? They are working into general shift, or they do have, the 3 shift, 2 shifts, right? In what will be their working hours and all, right? So generally you do create, working calendars, right? In eBase. Same way, the concept is that, right, you have the facilities. Okay. So facilities shift, workday pattern, and then schedule. Okay. So if you go to the facilities, you will look at, right, what will be your starting time, ended time, what will be the duration and all. So let's take an example. We'll create ABB shifts. Okay. Let me limited. Okay. Code if you want, then put it. Otherwise, not needed. Start time you can put, the 9. Duration is 9 hour. Okay. It's flexible, non or punch. Means if it's you have implemented the HRMS and you have the third party tool to be integrated, right, where you do generally your iCard punch, then it automatically take. So shift detail type. So it will be punch, none, or the flexible. Flexible means yes, anytime people come, there is the flexibilities and all. Okay. So anything you can select. Okay. Based on the business, so you have to ask all this information to the business. There is also category, basically the work from home or work from office. So I'll select the work from home. There is a no impact. It's more impact into the HRMS when they have the payroll and all those stuffs. Okay. All right. Now flexible. So core working hours, flexible shifts end time, flexible you shift start meal time, shift start time, right? So all these detail, right? Either you can add when you have the flexible. If you select the none, right? Let me select the none. You won't need to select anything. Okay. If you are selecting the flexible, then you have to keep enter, all those flexi hours. Okay. And if you go to the punch, then you have what will be the break time, what will be in time, meal, out, transfer. So all those the configuration you have to mention within the safety detail. So accordingly system will capture. Okay. So generally if business will not provide all the such detail, or they don't have the HRMS, generally typically the HRMS, if they are implementing, then the HRMS people will do all this the configuration, and they will help you to do that. Okay. For working calendar. So if you don't have any, you can go ahead with the none. Okay. All right. So we have created, okay, work from office 9 to. So if you notice that, right, when I selected the 9 hours, system has automatically taken the end date, end time. Okay. So ABB limited shift, that is what we have created. So what we have covered. So manage facility shifts. Okay, so that what we have created. So what we have created the values ABB, because we will utilize all this, moving forward the data. So I'm capturing. Okay. All right. Now facility workday pattern. So that is what the second task, that what we have to create. Okay. So create time workday pattern, create duration workday pattern, or create lapsed working pattern. Okay. So these are the three. The pattern, workday pattern will be available in the Oracle Fusion. So generally you create time workday pattern. If there is any duration, certain duration, right, then you can go ahead. So all these will be depend on the business case. Okay. But mostly business using the time workday pattern. Okay. So we'll say ABP workday pattern. Okay. So we'll capture that information. So let me already exist. So we'll put something. That is what I mentioned, right? It's a demo. So generally same name we can get it, but no problem. So let me capture that also. So that is what the we have created. Okay. Now length in a days. Okay. So most of the business will have, the 7 day working. Then you can select the 7 in days, length in days. If most of the business will have 5, then you select the 5. Okay, so I'm selecting the 5. Now plus start day. So we'll say, the first, end date, and then shift name. Okay. Okay. So start day, end day, and then, we'll enter. So let me search shift. ABB we have created, correct? Yeah, work from office. That is what we have created, correct? So if you notice that, right? So it will start and end, time, work period, work from office, shift description 9 to 18 and 9 hours. Automatically got selected. So we have first created shift and then we are creating the pattern. Okay, save and close. So we have created that also. All right. So what task we have covered? Manage facility workday. Okay. All. Now let's move. At the last, what you need the schedules. Okay. So basically we will be tie backing, all the information within the schedules. So we'll go ahead, create time schedule, ABB limited, and we'll say facility schedules. Okay. That is what we have. Category, pager, or the work, right? So we'll say work. Quarterly type, if you notice that in EBS also you have, 5 weeks, 4 weeks, right? So you can select if, you want, the quarterly type to be selected. Effective from date, right? So if you notice that this is, the effective from means your calendar will active, and effective to date means when your workday calendar is going to be, that schedule is going to be ended. So generally what happen when you do, immediate and means hurry setups, then what will happen that you forget to update this date. So make sure that you have extended this date till maximum 20 years, 25 years at least, and you update your configuration doc and inform to business that I have enabled your workday schedule till so and so date. Or maybe you can ask and get validate business SMEs as well. So business SME will inform you, okay, we are fine with 20 years of schedules calendar. We are good to go, and if there is a need, we will extend. Okay, generally time span is 20 years is at least for such technology, because it's a drastically is the changing, right? So I will change. Now I'm saying from the today because I want it to be used, so I cannot use the future date. Okay. So let's take example. It's started from the 1st of September, and it is going to be end. So let me put it some thing 31st December 2031. Okay. And first day of week is Monday. Okay. And active. Now I have to, associate my workday pattern. So sequence is, so you can add, many number of patterns and associate. Since I'm having only one pattern, so I will choose my pattern. So ABB limited. So let me search ABB limited workday pattern. See, look that. So I have associated. Now, if you notice that there's a parallelly schedule exceptions. So let's take an example. Generally in business, they have, let's say, the next week, there is a 2nd of October. So 2nd of October, right, might be business is not working, right? They are not working, right? So you can set all those, the schedule exceptions so that there won't be any, the working hours will be affected. There's a no machines running, right? There won't be anything is going in the business, right? So as a HR will help you to set it up all those schedule exceptions. So if you do generally the planning and all, right, then it won't trigger you the recommendation and all, and it will consider all those schedule exceptions. Okay. So I have configured it. Now I will say save and close. Yes. So I have created ABB limited facility schedules. Okay. So let me capture that also. Okay. So let me take a name of it. All this information. Okay. 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 That is what. So before starting the inventory organization, you need facility schedules to be there because we have to associate our working calendar with the inventory organization. Okay. So we'll now move to the all right. So let's click on the manage inventory organization. Say plus. Okay. So we'll set ABB inventory organization. So we will say ABB INB01. That is what our code. ABB limited. That is what our business unit. So automatically, if you notice that the location prompted legal entity. So we'll select legal entity. If you notice that when I selected the legal entity, automatically profit center business unit. So that is what the field will come automatically. So you have to make sure that you have enabled the flag of it. Okay. Now this is the internal address. So I have selected the internal. Now we'll move to the next. Once I'll move to the next, right, there are several, the configuration we have to, or the parameter we have to enable. So item master organization. So ABB inventory organization. Okay. So basically we will select. So let me select our master organization. So generally you can select your inventory organization also as a master. Okay. So let me select ABB master. Okay. Now this is also the definition organization of ABB inventory organization. Okay. So you have to select the master organization. So generally what it means, right? If you don't want master org, still you can create just inventory organization. You can select that inventory org itself as a master. If business will have always only one inventory warehouse and they don't want, they don't have, the manpower, they don't have, the people to be, work or do control or manage. So they will prefer, I don't want, many complexity. I want to go with the one inventory organization. You can create inventory organization as a master. So that is also possible. Okay. In those cases, you don't need to create the master. But as a consultant, you can advise. So it's better for them in future if they would like to, have many more. Then again, they have to, go ahead and they have to create, and all those complexity will increase because again, item association, again, item will be mismatched, right? Okay. ABB. So we have created ABB. I think facility, right? Let me choose that. ABB Limited facility schedules. Okay. So that is what the association. So this is what my working calendar associated to my inventory organization. All right. Time zone based on the business, you can change this. Whatever the time zone be applicable to the business, you can choose that. Now the locator control. So if you looked at no locator control, okay, means there won't be any locator required in their warehouses. Then you can select the no locator control. If you have the previously defined locator control, means you have created the locators, and those will be enabled in the system. And then dynamic entry locators, right? So if you want, whenever you are entering the information, that locator will be created. So dynamic entries and locator control determined at sovereignty level. So if you want, that locator to be determined at the sovereignty level. So always we advise that you go ahead and, select the locator determined at the sovereignty level. Why? So let's take an example in future. Once the transactions happen within the business, after that, you won't have any control to enable this option. And let's say after 2 months, business realize that I want, to have row rack bin functionality. So you cannot. Then again, it will be re-implementation for that. Means re-inventory organization and all. So basically, if you enable locator control determined at the sovereignty level, then still they have a choice to enable or disable, means enable or not to enable at the sovereignty level. So still you can have control. So you don't need to change entire setup. Just you have to change the data, maybe shift from one non-enabled locator sovereignty to the locator enabled sovereignty. Okay, those only things you have to do. And since it's a sovereignty level control, so you can create new sovereignty and you can associate your locators as well. So that is the best approach. Okay, but still these options can be discussed with the business, and accordingly you can use. Now coming back, okay, allow negative balances. If you enable this flag, by default it will be enabled, so you make sure that you disabled it. Otherwise, system will show you sometime, there won't be on end and any integration will run, system will issue that perform the transaction, you will see the negative quantity sometime. Generally you faced into past, if you're working on the EBS, or maybe you have seen into Fusion as well, right? So generally it happen. So you make sure that you disable this flag. Okay. All right. Now second option is the allow negative on end transactions. So don't enable it. Okay. So otherwise, it will be go into the negative. Okay. Then use original receipt date. So let's take an example. System will what means of the system? Business. If business asks that, I want, my original receipt date, right, always to be used, then you enable this flag. Okay. Then they don't have option to change and all. Round reorder quantity. So any point of time, right, if they are having decimals, right, let's say they are purchasing steels generally you will come into the the decimal points, right? So if they want any round reorder, right, quantity, right, or rounded to be quantity, then you have to enable this, otherwise don't enable it. Okay. Then they automatically cancel transfer order back orders. Okay. So basically what it means, right? Whenever there is a back order happen, right? Okay. For transfer order means you are transferring the goods and sometime you don't have the material, and if you don't have the material, then it will be back order. Okay. So this functionality, if you enable, then what will happen? That transfer order automatically go and cancel. So how this functionality, this feature will help you? Let's take an example. You created an order. You don't have the stock. It went into the back order. Next day you come to the business plant, and again somebody asks you, to raise the request because now material is available. You forget to requery, right? Your existing order, you created new one. So existing will always be there and it will be getting piled up. Correct? So sometimes business face such difficulties because they have, long queues, pending queues. And generally this is a typical business scenario. So you can enable this feature so that automatically whenever that particular order will go into back order, automatically it will cancel. Then use current item cost. So we'll say use a current item cost. So I'll show you how this is going to be help when we perform the miscellaneous issue or the receipt transactions. Account aliases, right? Account alias is, the issue, right? So basically, whenever you perform such transaction, you have, choose current cost as a yes or no. If you choose yes, then whatever the system cost is available, system will take that as a consideration and it will perform and do the accounting in respect to that. If you say no, then system will ask you what cost has to be charged. Okay, then you are keep entering all those costs. So if you enable this, then whenever there is a such transaction perform, automatically system will select as a yes. Means always it will perform, you know, uh, the system cost or such transactions. So sometimes business will ask you that that is very hectic because sometimes business user is performing and they are not aware, about this big impact of the costing no or yes. I want always it has to be enabled as a yes, and you make that field as a read only. So what is going to be happen? They won't have any choice to be, change or unselected. They have, just to perform the transaction. And by default, system will take current item cost as a consideration for that particular transaction. All right. Now coming to the enable inventory tracking by project, enable inventory tracking by control of origin. So any point of time, any project, right? If you want, then you have to enable this plan. If project enabled inventory organization will be there, then in inventory tracking by country of origin. So sometime you realize that, the outside the India, right? Or maybe Indian in India also some entities using, country of origin, right? Whether it's coming from the China or the US or Canada or UK, right? So they are tracking all those. So if you enable this, then whenever you are performing the receipt, right, that country of origin field will be enabled to that respective transactions. Okay. Warehouse accept substitute item. Okay. If you enable that, then warehouse will accept all those substitute items. So let's take example. You have the A, then, if A is not there, then you want, B to be there. So all those substitute, if you want that functionality, then you enable that. Now coming to the additional uses, right? If you looked at into the, the EBs, right? You are enabling the features of your inventory organization. Same way over here, either you want, that inventory organization to be manufacturing plant, means as a use as a manufacturing, then you enable it. Otherwise, you don't need to enable it. If you want that plant to be perform maintenance activities, then you can enable. If contract manufacturing, then you can enable. It is possible that one business can have, all three different plants. So one plant do the manufacturing, second plant will do the perform maintenance related, and third plant will have the contract manufacturing. It's possible scenario. Then the supply tie integrated, right? So if you looked at the Oracle inventory management system, that is the integrated system. If you have the warehouse, then warehouse has to be selected. Third party logistic, then third party logistic. Okay. Now, organization is associated with the internal customer. So when you have, intercompany and all, then all this, the configuration will come into the scenario. Now coming to the movement request. So pick slip, the batch size, right? So what will be the batch size? If you want, otherwise leave it, there won't be any issue. Replenishment, movement request grouping, right? How you want that request, replenishment movement request to be grouping based on the destinations of inventory or the organization. So if business want, then you can choose vice versa, whatever the option is required. Automatically delete picks when movement requests are cancelled. So sometime if you realize this, right, movement is request is nothing but the move orders. If I say in EBIS terminology. So sometime what happen when you perform the move order, it will remain, open status, right? Or whenever, you cancel, sometime, there is a orphan records got created in EBIS. Generally it happen. Okay. You see, look that on end is there, but it is into the orphan. Then you delete all those orphan records, and then it will automatically available to be reserved. Same way in a system, right? In Fusion, they have provisioned this. So any point of time, if you cancel your movement request, automatically, right, it delete the picks. Picks means if any picks done reserve, it will cancel that record and it will unreserve all those quantity automatically. Okay, so you can discuss all such functionality, whether it's required to be enabled, not required to be enabled, and accordingly you can choose. Okay, close movement request lines at pick confirmation. So generally what happened, right? When you perform the movement request, right? If you want, it to be closed, right? Then whenever there's a pick confirmation, then movement request lines will closed automatically. So you have to enable this. Okay. So we'll enable this, and then we will enable this as well. Okay. All right. Now coming to the lot serial and the packing unit. Lot serial you can control at the organization level. If you don't want, you can handle it at the item level as well. There won't be any restriction. Okay. Whether you want, a uniqueness, right, across the item, no uniqueness at the item level, organization level, or user defined. So based on, so these all are parameter related to the business specific requirements. Okay. All right. Now, if you notice serial number generation, okay, serial number generation at the organization level. So if you your business will having the requirement that they want, the predefined serial number to be used, the business, then you go ahead and enable this option. Okay. So if you say system select serial number, yes. If you say yes, then predefined serial number will be generated. And once you generate system in the system, all those predefined serial number will be available, and you can use those serial numbers. Okay. So this is, the generally based on requirement, right, has to be. Then packing unit generation, right? So GS1 128, right? So basically on the barcode and all, right, if you have the warehouse management and all, right, then all this comes into the scenario. Coming to the item sourcing. So at the item level, like in ABS, right, you define the picking rules, inventory order, right, locator. All this you can configure, otherwise leave it, there won't be any issue. Okay. Capture picking exceptions, right? So those will be flagged enabled, right? So you don't need to disable it. So basically, whenever there's a, picking exceptions comes into the scenario, then automatic system will capture all those, automatically populate picked quantity during the pick confirm. What it means? So whenever you do the pick release, so let's take an example. If you have requested 100 quantity, then automatically system will populate the 100 quantity of in order to pick confirm. So you don't need to enter the quantity automatically. So I will select automatic. I will, whenever we will move to the picking rule and all, right, pick confirm and all. So we'll see. I will correlate this feature with that functionality. Okay. Then allow overpicking for special handling. So any point of time business will having the requirement, then you can enable this overpicking. Then only system will allow you to do the overpick for movement request. If there is a such functionality for related to move order overpicking, then only you enable, otherwise let it be. Item sourcing means related to if you are using the min-max and all, right. So all such you can use at the item label as well as at the sovereignty label. So you don't need to enable it. If you would like to enable, you can enable it over here as well. Okay. Now coming to the additional information. So additional information means the descriptive flag field. So if your business, any integration point of view, you are utilizing that inventory organization parameter or the data to be synced with the third party application, you can configure additional DFF and capture all such information and you can accept that. Otherwise, there is a no issue. Okay, because it's optional. Now save and close. Okay, so we have created sorry, one inventory organization. All right. So we have created one inventory organization. So let me search. So ABB, we have created ABBINB01. Correct. That is what we have created. Yes. So let me put manage inventory organization. So what we have created ABB INV01. Okay. And we have created ABB IMO. Correct. That is what we have created. So we'll create another one, right? In order to perform the transfer order and all. So we will create another one, right? But at the later stage. Okay. So we'll expedite, to forward, right? So far, are we catching and following, or shall I move forward? Till now, everyone fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So we have created the inventory organization. Okay. Now, what next? So next will come as a manage inventory organization data access. Okay. So first we have to create the data access because we have to create the item classes. Item classes. What is the item classes? Item classes is that, right? The classification of the product, right? If they have, the computer accessories, generally you can say, we can manage based on the category. So why we have to create the classification of the product? Let's take an example. Business will have the requirement that they want, all such categorized item, right? The item numbering or product numbering to be generated uniquely or separate, or each product will have their own numbering sequence. Then you have to go ahead and use the classification. We'll talk about that also. Okay. All right. So let me go to the manage. So generally manage data access for users. That is what the task name. So whether you are following business data access or inventory data access, it will redirect you to the manage data access for users, because certain functionality across module will be shared. So from any module, you can reach out to that respective UI automatically. Just naming are different, but it will redirect you to the same UI. So manage data access for users. Okay. So let me note. Okay. So that is what the task. Let's go ahead. All right. So there is a, if you have the data, so you can go at the users with the data access or users without the data access. So if you want any person to be searched, if that person will not have the data access, then you can go ahead with this option. If you want, what all existing access assigned to that particular user, you can go ahead with this and you can search based on the username or the role. Okay. Now to assign, I will say, so I think that user, let me see, user, just give me a minute. Okay, let me see what user. I'll give that user information. Okay, scm dot testing. Okay, and then role. So let me see, because that is existing user, so that particular user will have the role. So inventory manager. So we'll select the inventory organization and we'll say ABB inventory org. Will duplicate. So this is duplicate. Okay. And in order to create the item, we must be having the product data steward role or the manager. So we'll say product data steward. So product data steward assigned. Now we'll say inventory organization ABB INV01. Okay, so product data steward. So we have assigned that. Okay, then what else we need? So we need data access to be assigned many of the roles. So let's search warehouse manager, inventory organization, ABB, INB01. So I will share, all the roles available in the Oracle Fusion, so that it will be easily to be accessible, right? Rather than searching. Anyway, when we will discuss move forward, we will be discussing all those roles. Now what else? Anyway, time to time I will be adding more data access. So shipping agent, shipping manager. So shipping agent I will assign ABB INB01. Then we'll have the receiving agent. So we'll perform the receiving agent. 01. Now coming to next. Okay. So what we have, we can assign the procurement manager and business unit. Since we have created we have not configured the procurement, right? But we are assigning the business unit so that before configuration, right, we have all those, the information coming. So we'll select ABB limited dot. Okay. So we have selected. Then what next? Let me. Okay. Let me a little bit so that it will be visible. Okay. So advanced procurement requester, that is also required. So ABB limited. All right. Now coming to the cost accounting. So we'll search cost accountant. So business unit ABB limited. Okay. Go back again, search. Since we are here, right? So we will assign all those roles. So receipt accounting, business unit. Okay. So far we have assigned all this. Okay. We have to assign many more, but we have assigned so far, right? Okay. So data access we have already given. Now what we have to do, so we have to go to the manufacturing and supply chain management. And if you come to the item, right, if you select the, then you have the life cycle phase. Okay. So life cycle phase also you can create. So manage life cycle phase that you can create. Okay. So I'll showcase to you, right, how and what is the relevancy of the life cycle phase. Life cycle phase is something, right? Let's take example automobile industry, right? So when the product is start from the designing, right? So there are several life cycle, right? Several phases comes. So it's the designing, and then it will come to the uh, prototyping, right? That is another phase of that product. Then it will come to the final design, and then it will come to the production. So these are the four steps, right? Or initial drafting or initial engineering, that is another you can add. So in certain cases, these life cycle will be given there, so that whenever it start, it will follow thoroughly all this process until the production. It will be keep track. Okay. So let's take example. Generally, most of the industry they don't have all this life cycle. So if they want any specific life cycle to be used, so generally as a seeded, the production life cycle always be there. So you can use the production life cycle. Okay. If you want it has to be customized, then you can go ahead and select the manage lifecycle phase. So we'll say ABB life cycle. Okay. Now the code. So ABB. So generally in the code, right, don't put any space. Generally, if you want, you can put underscore. Don't keep in the API name any space, or the code any space. Okay. You use generally, okay. Now phase type. Okay, so if you looked at what all the phase types, right? So it's relevant to the design, upslate, pre-production or the prototype or the production. So I'm saying that it will go to the production. So the combination of sequence and lifecycle phase already exists. Means somebody has already created. So we'll use pre-production, that is also there. So we'll look at, right? Let's just search. Okay. So all the combinations, permutation combinations already be there, right? Okay. Okay. So let me change the sequence. I think I'll use the 1000 is, let me check what is the last sequence. Okay, 1001. I think we'll try to enter. Okay, and we'll use the production. Phase type is required. Let's cancel. Go ahead and we will create again. Let me see if, so we will be using the same sequence. So it's giving the error. So let me use the different sequence. Okay, that sequence is also there. And let me select 900. Will that be there? Okay, how many records they have created? Okay. Okay, what we'll do, let me do it some different way. Okay. Let me use someone existing. We can create anything. Okay, let's use this. Okay. Okay. So we will be utilizing. So I have updated the existing one because since most of the sequence already there, that is what the drawback of the demo. But generally, to understanding, right, you won't have all those combinations exist or the sequencing exist, right, to the your client environment. But generally, demo you face. But generally, the idea behind is that, right, you have to be understood. So you have to set the sequence, you have to set your phase, then phase code, and then phase type, whether it's design, prototype, or production, and then set the start date. Okay. Okay. So ABB. Right. That is another task. Okay. So we'll go to the manage item status. So any status, if you would like to, right? So let's say, take an example, active always be there, right? By default, active as a seeded function, right? So if you want item status to be customized, you can go ahead and select the task called the manage item statuses, and you can create your own status for that item. Okay. So let's say ABB. Okay. The name active items. Okay. And if you notice, these all are the attributes. Okay. So attribute values you can control. So whenever we will select item status as a ABB, then that particular attribute will be impact my item template, means it will override. Okay. So generally what happen, basically if you have the active item or the inactive item, so if you change the item status as a inactive, then it won't be available at all for any transaction, because entire attribute will be revoked, correct, or disabled. And whenever you do the active, then all those certain attribute will be active. So you can control, right, all this functionality. If you notice, right, there is a, the attribute value as a no or yes. Uses means defaulted, inherited, or the none, means it will be default value, it will be inherited from the means master. So whenever you control or change the status of that particular item at the master level, then automatically if you select it as a inherited, then master will the attribute information will flow to the child organization as well. Okay. If you say default, then it will be defaulted. Now control group. So we will talk about this control group. Let's take an example. You face generally, in your business, right, that how to control a certain attribute at the master layer, because it's quite difficult to manage at the organization level. Okay. So still there is a provision, you can control all those attribute group, whether you want that attribute to be controlled at the master or the organization level. How it help you, the attribute control, basically, let's take an example. If you want, sales account, just I'm giving the example, sales account is common across your multiple inventory organization, that is common. And you have assigned your item to all the organization, right? And let's take an example, that attribute control still be control at the organization level. Then what you have to do, you have to do every time update, means first time you have to update for A organization, second time you have to update that sales account for B, and third time you have to perform the same activity for the C. Okay. Now if you change via operational control behavior at the master, then you have to do it once at all. So whenever you created it, updated at the master level, and if you have selected that value as inherited, then automatically that will flow to the organization. So you don't need to update sales time thrice. You have to do one time. So that is how it benefited the operational behavior. So all those things you can discuss with your business. If it's required, then fine. If not, then that's also fine. Okay. So we'll say Costing flag, yes. Okay. Inventory, yes. Inventory item, yes. Stockable, correct. Transactable, right. Okay. Okay. All right. Then purchase, I will select. Okay. Then if you want, that it has to be defaulted, so you can select the default. So just giving you the idea. Okay. And simply what you can do, you can say, okay. Once you're done, right? So all these attribute, how you want it to be controlled as a consultant, as a being consultant, you first create and understand the requirement from the business, then accordingly you configure all those status. Otherwise active or inactive by default will be there, so you can go ahead with that. Until unless there is a no need, then don't go ahead and create all this, because if it's wrong, then it will impact entire your data migration. Okay. So just be careful about the item statuses. Basically, I just want to give you the idea how, if there is a requirement, how you can go ahead and create it. But you have to first of all understanding all those attribute. If you are aware, then it's fine. Okay. Okay. Sometime in a demo environment you will face such challenges that records won't save. So no worry, but ultimately the idea behind is that, right, I want to showcase how you can create it, right? All those item statuses, right? You have any question related to item statuses?
No, sir.
I hope that you are aware, right? What is the item status, how it will control that, correct?
Yes, sir, I have studied in EBS.
Uh-huh.
So something different too.
Okay. Sorry, you have a question?
No, sir, currently not. I will study about these things, then I will.
Okay. So I think no need to be, too much stress on that status, right? I think when we move forward, I will explain, active and inactive, so that you understand, right? What is the basic, because it's typically, little bit high level. If you are aware active, inactive status, then only you can, go ahead and configure this. Okay. So
Okay,
I'll
sir.
explain that. Okay. So don't worry. Manage item type. Okay. So this is what the task called manage item type. So in every business, they want, certain item types to be there, right? Whether it's that particular item is required for repairing purpose, inventory type item, purchasing item, manufacturing item, right? Uh, or maybe computer accessories item. So if business will having the requirement, then you can go ahead with having this task. You can create all those custom item types. Okay. So let me create something. ABB type, and I'll select from the first ABB type. So when we will create the item, then you will understand. Okay. Now we'll save. Okay. So we have saved the record. So let me put it. Manage item types. So ABB item, that is what we have created. Correct. Okay. So we have done with the item type also we have created. Okay. If you have, the descriptive flex field, we will talk about later stage. Okay. Let's create the item class. Okay. Okay. All right. So now go to setup and maintenance. Manage item class. So if you search manage item classes, right? That is what the task name. So if you come to the manage item classes, you have all those classifications. Okay. So let's take example. Generally within the application, root item class will come. And if you notice at the below, these all are the custom. Since it's a demo environment, so everyone is using for the testing purpose. So they have created many more. So, but when you have the client environment, you will see only root item class. There won't be anything else. Okay. All right. So we will create our own item class under the umbrella of root item class, and we will utilize that. Okay. So we come to manage item class. So let me select. So parent item class always be root item class before you create a new item class. Already I explained, right, what is the uses of the item class and when you can initiate all those item class. So let's take an example. I will create two item class so that you will understand more how the document, how the item sequencing will work and all, right? So let's take an example. ABB item item 01 class. Okay. Okay. Now, first I am creating ABB item 01 class. Okay, I will note down this information because that is required for us in future. Now I will say save and add details. Okay, so I will add the details. Now, if you come to this, right, so item creation allowed means if you disable this flag, then you can't create against this item class any item anymore. Okay. By default it will be enabled, so just make sure if you won't be able to create it, right, you just uh, validate and check whether the item class is active and item creation is allowed or not. Okay. Second one is that there is a certain, the securities, those things you have to check, as well as the data access. So these all three things you have to validate. All right. So item class, that is what my item class. Now we'll come to the item management. So item management, there is a number generation. So basically, if you want by default the sequencing, you want user defined means user can enter, or you want system to be auto generated. So there are, the options available to inherited from the parents. Okay, so whatever, the parent, the root item class following, the same will follow. Rule generated, there are certain rules. Okay, so those are the rule, maybe the color combinations, and you want to multiple permutation to be generated, then you can use the rule generate. Sequence generated means the sequentially if you want, and user defined means user have to enter. So let me select the sequence generated. This option is related to the configurator. Okay, if you have the entire, the configurator to be used. Starting number, so I will say starting number is 1000. Prefix, if you want prefix to be added, so I will say ABB as a prefix, and increment by 1. So whenever there is a 1001, then after that 1002, 1003, 1004, like that. So increment by 1. Okay. Suffix, if you want any suffix to be added at the last, then you can enter, otherwise leave it. Okay. Item description generation method, so I will say user defined. Okay, because my each item will have their own, so I will say user defined. Sequence I can generate. Okay, then new item request, so if you want, any approvals to be used, then you enable it, otherwise disable it. Okay, otherwise it will go into all the approval and all, right? This is also based on the business requirement, you can configure and do. Now come to the security. Security is very important. Okay, so basically whenever you do security, right, you have to come to the plus. and you have an option group or the person. So you can assign, either group means that particular role. So whoever having that role, by default, that role provide the security access in order to create items within that item class. If you say person, then only that particular person will have the access to create items against that particular item class. So be careful, understand. If you have any question, feel free to ask. Okay. So group means the role. So if I say product data steward means this is the group. So if I will assign to you as a product data steward role, then you can also create item within this item class, or whoever having the access, everyone can create. But if I say person specific, then that particular person, so let me put HCM dot testing. Okay. So I am as a HCM dot testing. So I can only create items within that item class. Okay. Then the organization. So organization we have created ABB IMO. So you have to provide the access to your master organization as well as the organization, child organization. Both the access you have to assign within this security under the item class. Otherwise, you won't be able to create items at all. Okay. Now, at the bottom, you will notice that there are several actions. So actions, what is actions? So basically, these are the attribute, the actions provided by the Oracle, right? So these are the items. Let's take an example. If you have two types of person, one person controlling the master data, so that person can create the item, manage the item class, update the attribute, everything. But another person also want, item access, but business want that person cannot change or have the access to control the item class. Then you can disable and control and manage all those, within this attribute itself, these actions. So you could just disable it, then that particular person cannot create item. So for now, I will selecting all because I want all the access to my user. Now I'll come. So create item, class item. Okay. So if you delete this, then I am also as a person, I cannot create item at all. So these are the actions, very careful. So if business want, then only you can go ahead and delete and change. Otherwise, don't touch at all. Okay. All right. Now, again, I will say person SCM because first time I have assigned to my IMO business. Now this time I will assign to my inventory organization. So IMV, NO, again plus, say apply, selected all, apply, and click on OK. So all the items selected. Means I can create, I can assign whatever I want, the description to be updated, attribute to be updated, right? So if you notice that, right? Manage item basic detail, inventory group, right? Item pack, item people, purchasing, right? Revision, sales, item structure. So anything business want, that particular person cannot have the access. You can delete that action from that particular security for that particular person. Then he or she cannot access at all. All right. So far we good. All right. Yeah. Any question?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. Now transactional attribute. So transactional attribute is required, if there is a business having the requirement, then only you can create all those transactional attribute. Then page and attribute groups. Okay. So basically any EFFs, if you have created, you can look at all those EFF detail within that. Sorry. Within that section. Then pages, the data quality. All right, item overview, functional item page, product hub portal, right? So these are related to the product hub and all. Okay, life cycle phase. Okay, so if you looked at the life cycle phase, right, these all are the life cycle phase. Okay, if you want, right, so we can search our ABB whether it's coming. Okay, so let me try to search. See ABB. So this is how the life cycle, the phases will be coming. Okay, then template and formats. Okay, so if you come to the template and formats, right, so by default system will create the templates. If you want any templates to be created, you have to create that particular template and control all those behavior so that you can use it. Okay, so let's take an example. If you click on plus, you can say ABB item purchasing template. Okay, and you can associate. Okay, so I have created ABB purchasing. Now at the bottom you can assign all those attributes within that template. So whenever you assign this template, all those attributes will be defaulted for that particular item. So let's say item status. So we'll say active. Okay, life cycle phase. So we'll say production. Item type. So item type will say ABB item. User item type, that is what we have defined at that time. Okay, pack type, base unit, each case, right? Display zipper, mixed module, right? So there are several, the pack type will be used in the business side. It's differ business to business side, how they are, using the pallets, right, for shipping, or what will be the packing type, right? So those things can be used. Okay. Now unit of measure, right? So EA, so each will be our unit of measure, right? Tracking unit of measure. So whether we want it to be tracked primary or primary and secondary both. So currently we are having only the primary. Okay. Pricing, primary, conversion, both. Secondary unit of measure, we don't have it. We don't want it to be controlled. Positive deviation and the negative deviation, 0, 0. Now coming to the specification. Okay. In the specification, so costing enabled, yes. Asset value, yes. Include in roll up, yes. Build in WIP, yes. Contract manufacturing, no. Now you have question why we are not selecting all the attributes. Okay, it's depend on the business. I am not selecting because even though I am not selecting based on the item status, automatically all those certain value will be populated. So I don't need to select all. I am selecting only those whatever the relevant or the key attribute that I want to be effective or applied based on my item template. Okay. Now service. So we don't have service. Now coming to the inventory. Yes, inventorize. Okay. Stockable, yes. Transactable, yes. Reservable, yes. Means I want all three. If you want well picked, revision, check material shortage, then only enable. Otherwise, no issue. If you want lot control and the child control, so we will cover that also. Lot control and child control. Then you have the graded control, you have the serial control, cycle count, locator, okay, and project driven supply chain. So these all are attribute, right? So we will create one by one all the items, right? Then we will cover all this. Now coming to the physical attribute. Physical attribute are the dimension, weight, container, right? For the packaging is required, right? For container, right? It's required physical attribute. Then only you can populate, otherwise leave it. Sales and order management is important. So customer order, transferable, if you say internally transferable, then you have to enable this transfer order enabled. Then only it will be enabled. Then check ATP material only or material and resource. So it is also the ATP you can decide based on your business requirement. Returnable, if you say yes means then only RMA can be done. Okay. Back to back, yes or no. So this attribute will be controlling. Okay. Default sales order type, external or internal. If you say external, then it will be dropship item. If you say internal, then it will be internal as a O2C. Okay. Then customer orderable, yes. Picking rule, we are not defaulting over here. We will do later. Okay. Then order management transaction enable, yes. Okay. And then shippable, yes. Okay. Default shipping organization, you can define if you want it to be defaulted. Okay. Overshipment tolerance, over return tolerance, all these parameter will be based on the business. Invoice, yes. Okay. Invoice enabled, yes. Okay. And then these are the wave store related. Okay. So if there is a wave store, then all this has to be attribute be selected like ABs. So basically I have selected the minimum to minimum, what key attributes are required. Now I will come to the planning. So I want not planned. If I want it to be planning, then accordingly all those parameter can be selected. This is my buy item. Okay. If you have the planning and planner defined, you can default minimum maximum if you are using the minimum maximum. Okay. Then the order carrying percentage, sources, safety stock, order modifier. So these are all attribute relevant to the based on the business requirements only. Okay. And if there are certain values you will see all those populated, those will be based on the item status. Okay. So I have done this. Now I will save that record. Okay. Now I can create my item within the ABB item class 01. Okay. I will say save and close. Okay. Now I will create another ABB item class 02. Okay. So this time, okay, I will go to the item management. I will say sequentially generated, starting number 100, prefix I will say ABB type 2 so that you understand. Okay. Then I will disable because I will generate my own. I don't want any approval. Now within that same way, I will say person and my user is scm dot testing. Okay. ABB IMO. Okay. I will select all the actions. I've selected apply OK. Now again I will duplicate. So now this time I will just change INV 01. Okay. And if you see when I duplicate it, so action get copied from the first axis IMO1. Okay. Now if you notice that this time I have changed my prefix to ABB type 2 so that you understand. So let's take an example. For computer, they want some different series. For electrical item, they want some different number series. Then you can create multiple item classes. If they want, all materials, to be generated sequentially, then what you can do, you can just go ahead and create against the root item class only. You don't need to create, for all. Okay. Now we have already covered this life cycle. So I will not go again. I will say save and close. Okay. So we have created ABB item type 2. Okay. That is what we have created, 2 item class. Okay. And we have also provided the access of it. Okay. Now I will say done. Data access I have already created. I have already provided So today I will cover, one of the item. You can go ahead, you can create your BU, you can create your BU. Same way, follow all these steps. I will upload these steps to the, the drive. So you can follow all these steps, and till the items you can create purchasing item, all those. You can use the seeded templates as well. So there is a no issue, no harm. You can create one your custom template so you can understand how all those attributes. We will be covering into next session, all the behavior of the attributes. Then we will cover the lot control, how to create lot control item, serial control items and all.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now
Yes.
I'll just showcase one item and then we'll wrap up our call. So create item. Okay. So create item. So what will be my organization? IBB IMO. Okay. So if you notice that ABB IMO is coming, so you can see only those, uh, the organizations, right? Where you have the access. Since I have associated, the access within the security and data access, then only I can see this. You have two options: create new or create from copy. Create from copy means you have any item, you want that item attribute to be copied or carry forward to your new item, then you can choose create from copy. Otherwise, create new. You can create new number of item. How many items you can create? So you can create 1 to 10. Okay, but it's very tedious because you have to go one by one to manage all those. So better one to one you can create. If you want bulk, go ahead and use the FBDI. So we will see that FBDI, how we can create the items. Okay. Item class, if I select, I can see, if you looked at, I can see only two. Why? Because I have provided this user to access only these two item class. So I will select first item class and ABB purchasing template. That is what I have created. That's why I can see. That's how. Okay. So I will select my ABB purchasing template. I will say okay. Now, if you notice that item number, so you won't be able to see until you save that record your item number. It will be ABB as a prefix coming from the item class. XXX means numbering series, so you won't be able to see all these values coming from the template. So I will say my electrical item. Okay. Now, if you notice, entire information will be long description. If you want, you can put it. Specification. So see, other information getting defaulted because we have selected item status as active, means item is active to perform all the transactions. Okay. Now over here, the structure attachments. Okay. So attachment means any attachments, any drawing required to be attached, then you can attach at this item level. Okay. So if you click on plus, then you can do the all the attachments over here. Okay. All right. Now coming to the associations. So associations means once you created item, you want it to be assigned to your organization. So first I will save that record. And once I save, then you will notice that my number got generated and it's non-editable. Okay. Now I will assign my item to the organization ABB INV 01. That was we have created, correct? Correct. So if you notice, so we have done the assignment of my item. So whatever item number generated attribute, that will be carried forward to the inventory. Okay. So we have created first item. All right. Now let me put this create item. Okay. So item number, we have created this one. Okay. So let me put it against this as well and copy to. Okay. So we'll go back again the product information management. Create item. Okay. ABB IMO. ABB. Now I will select class 2. And this time I have not defined any template, so it's not coming my custom. So I will choose any template like a standard one, purchased item. I will drag and drop it over here. So I will select arrow, click on OK. Now see ABB type 2. Okay, I will say purchased item. Okay. Now if you notice that all this not coming, right? Because that is not assigned, right? Against the template. So that's why it's not coming. EA, unit of measure. Go to specification. We don't need to do that. Now coming to the association. So before do that, I will just generate my item. So if you notice that now my item got generated. So this is what the item we have created. And we'll go to the association. And against, we will search our inventory organization and apply and done. So if you notice, we have done and assigned. Who has created? Now item status is approved. Okay, and it's ready to use that. Okay, so this is what we have created the 2 items today. Okay, so for that today. Okay, and we'll carry forward from the next session. So in next session we will be covering the all the items. So you guys are aware the lot control and the serial control, all those items, or you don't know?
Sir, yes, I have studied in EBS classes.
Hmm.
So last 2 years ago.
Okay, no problem. We will be covering the lot control, how to create lot control items, serial control items. So all those items we will create, and then we will start performing the transactions in the inventory
Okay,
organization. Okay,
okay,
so we will
okay,
do sub inventories, all those the steps we will do. Since we have not started, we have just created the inventory organization. Okay,
okay, okay,
so
sir.
in order to run a business, right, what information we need? We need the stores, correct, to keep stocks in on hand, right?
ठीक है. Okay, sir.
So we'll create the sovereignty locators, will perform then the transactions, so that how to perform miscellaneous issue, receipt, sovereignty transfer. So all those transactions will be starting now. Okay.
Okay,
Once
sir.
we done, then immediately we will start the order management related stuff, the configuration, and then we will perform the other transactions. Okay, because
Okay,
we need some stocks, then only we will start the order management. So at least we will finish this. Okay.
okay, sir.
Uh, few of the process, if back and forth, right? Sometime I will cover at the latter, and sometime I will cover the first. So don't be confused with that. But based on the syllabus, whatever given, right, we will be covering entire stuffs. Okay,
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
but you have to go and practice. Then only you will be able to but you have to do the daily practice. And
Sure,
whenever
sir.
we will
Sure.
be sharing the demo environment, as I mentioned, right, it will be only 3 days, sorry, 5 days
5
available.
days.
So you
Yes.
have to perform as much as faster, multiple